Hey guys, Carl97 again. This time with a review of the 1/44 scale high-grade Zeta Gundam from the Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam series. As far as looks are concerned, this thing is an absolute treat. From the color separation, to the proportions, to even the detailing on it, it's mind-blowing for a model kit from 1990. The year, not the decade. I mean, this thing is leagues ahead of anything from the 1990s, except for its brethren from this high-grade series. So for colors, you'll see that it's almost completely color accurate, and thanks to the system injection molding, even has small details molded onto it that not even the high-grade Universal Century has, such as the yellow on the legs. System injection molding meaning that they have multiple colors molded onto one single part, such as the white and the yellow here, the white and the red on the feet. Then on the chest you have the blue and the yellow all molded together, one single piece. And then on the arms we have a whopping 3 colors, the blue, the yellow, once again small little bits molded in there, and finally also the red. And then the final stunning thing about the colors, the eyes, which are molded in clear green and are actually pretty vibrant. Now, one thing you could always do, which I didn't do on this model kit yet, is if you peel off the stickers, you will see that they are metallic on the sticky part. Now, if you stick that to the back of the eyes, they will get like a little bit more reflective and will make the eyes even more badass. Something I highly recommend doing. Now, talking about the stickers, you'll see that we do get a fair amount of them. Now, only a handful are required to make it color accurate. We have the white ones that go onto the wrists right there. We have the red one for the V-fin. And then we have these blue ones that are supposed to go on there. But unfortunately, they also hide a little bit of the detailing that is on the leg. The other stickers, believe it or not, are actually to make the model kit color inaccurate. Probably one of the few models that actually does that. We have the red and the white ones that go onto the shoulders. We have like these kind of triangles that are supposed to go on there. This thing, some danger triangles, you know, they are interesting if you'd want to use them. So as far as color accuracy is concerned, straight out of the box, the biggest problem is going to be the kind of lack of red on the wing binders. Other than that, it does a pretty amazing job. Now, as far as the detailing is concerned, we have a nice mixture of being anime accurate and added detailings. For seam lines, it depends a bit. Just looking at it from the front, the biggest one you're going to notice is one straight down the middle of the legs. Other than that, they are kind of tucked away until you start looking for them. Then, you know, being an old model kit, they are pretty visible, especially on the back of the legs. This is, of course, going to be slightly more visible once you transform him into the Wave Rider. One final thing I gotta mention about system injection molding is that sometimes system injection molding has a bad tendency of leaving some really ugly nub marks. Nub marks in a different color. Here the only visible one is that we get a yellow nub mark on the blue arm parts. On to articulation. It's an older model kit and it's going to show a bit here. The head will rotate around about that far. It's not on a ball joint, it's on a hinge and will only go side to side. Not backwards or forwards, no, nothing. That's all the head is going to do. Then the arms will rotate around all the way, go up only about that far. Now the funny thing is, because of the transformation, they also have a hinge backwards. And they will rotate around above the elbow, bend at one joint for about 90 degrees, pretty much the standard. Then the hands are on ball joints, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. The waist, of course, no movement whatsoever on the back. We have the usual. His tail fin moves up, and then the wing binders will also move around slightly. Extend, go back in. More about those, of course, during the transformation. The legs, unfortunately, kind of hindered. They go forwards a little bit, backwards a little bit, and the left one is also kind of loose. You know, that can be fixed with a bit of super glue. Now, I do think with a little bit of modification, you could increase the articulation, but as it stands, that's all you're going to get. The knees are double jointed and, you know, slightly more than 90 degrees. Not too bad, because I had to move this thing forward as well, so yeah. And then they go out about that far. Now, the funny thing is that you might think that this is connected to the leg itself, but actually it's connected to the upper joint of the leg. It's a pretty unique setup that you're probably not going to see on any other model kit. Then finally, this flap goes up and down. The feet go very far forwards, very far backwards. Will rotate around a tiny, tiny bit and also go side to side on their ball joint. So overall, the articulation isn't really the best, with of course the biggest problem being the limited forwards and backwards movement of the legs, which seemed to become the trend during the 90s, and also the fact that the head cannot move up and down, which nowadays seems like only the most normal thing for a model kit to do, or at least a Gundam model kit. But, you know, Gunpla is always evolving. On to accessories, and let's start off with my favorite one, a pair of beam chopsticks molded in pure white, which I guess does make it good for painting them, though I can't complain too much because of course it's the 1990s. The real question is how well do they go into the hands? We have a pair of holding hands, one for right, one for left, and when we put them in there, it's actually really surprising how well they hold on to these beams. Sure, they might be beam chopsticks, but for the time, these would be beam chopsticks I would approve of. But of course, beam chopsticks are not something you'd want to carry into combat with you. Fortunately, the Zeta Gundam comes with its trusty beam rifle with a foldable handle and a peg to store it. On top of that, it's a perfect fit for the right holding hand. Unfortunately, it will not fit into the left hand, so your Zeta Gundam is going to be a righty. What you can put on the left arm is its trusty shield. Now this will also go onto the other side, simply slides on there with this mechanism. This peg right here is going to come in handy later on. On it goes, and now the Zeta Gundam is ready to fly off into action. The only thing that we do not get is the Hyper Mega Launcher. For some reason, it really is a trend to give us the Zeta Gundam without the Hyper Mega Launcher. I mean, there are actually a surprising amount of Zeta Gundams that come without it. In fact, I think even the majority of Zeta Gundam kits do not include it. But say that you really want to use it, the good news is you can simply use a Hyper Multiversal Century one. And this one is slightly darker because it's the one from the Griffios War set. Also, I'm guessing this means that you can also use a Hyper Mega Launcher from the System Weapon set. And hey, all you gotta do is tuck away. The beam rifle on the back can go on either the right side or the left side, and parts form the weapon by replacing the barrel. This is the longer one, which was shown earlier in the video, and then this is simply a shorter one. Now, that part parts forms. But earlier when I was talking about the Zeta Gundam's Wave Rider, I said transform. And oh boy, did I mean that. Now, one thing you might have already noticed is that this Zeta Gundam, especially the wings, they look ever so slightly different from the regular Zeta Gundam. Now, this was done because the transformation of the regular Zeta Gundam is a pain to pull off. I think we got pretty much our proof with the real great Zeta Gundam, and at the time they decided that kind of mashing together the Zeta Gundam with the Zeta Plus would be the easiest way to do the transformation, and hence we got this result. And frankly, I think, you know, they were right. This is probably one of the easiest Zeta Gundam transformations I have ever done. I mean, I'm not even looking at the manual right now. This was supposed to go like that. That goes in there, then that goes like that. And just the way these wings transform ever so easily. Now, here is a good question though for everyone. Which one would you kind of prefer? Have it something like this and have them take an artistic license on the machine itself and be able to pull off a really cool feature like being able to transform in the 90s, or would you prefer to have it more anime accurate or just like Mobile Suit accurate and, you know, ditch the transformation and just have it parts form like in modern day? Then the last thing left to do is attach the nose cone. Simply extend this thing, line up the pegs, that goes in there. This one opens up actually, it's on a hinge, which makes it a lot easier to attach this peg to that hole. There we go. Close it up, and here is our Zeta Gundam. Now, overall, aesthetically speaking, for a mobile suit transforming from 1990, I quite like it. It might be slightly bulkier than I would like it to be, but definitely not a bad attempt at a transforming mobile suit in 1990, even with the artistic licenses taken. And as I did with the previous high grades, let's quickly show off the manual, showing off the gorgeous artwork that's in here. Just look at Camille here, about to fight Theo. And this beautiful thing. I mean, the funny thing is here, it looks way more like the C1 or the A1 than the actual Zeta Gundam. I mean, the dead giveaway is the colors of the feet, the way the head is shaped, like all kinds of little things that really make it look like the C1 or the A1. And just this Wave Rider just looks so streamlined. That looks absolutely gorgeous. I really like the way the wings form one entity. I really prefer this transformation over that of the original Zeta Gundam. Here we once again get some more detailing on the transformation. Huge head variations. The prototype of the Zeta Gundam. The manual, here we have the specifications of our Zeta Gundam, or as some would also like to call it, the Zeta Gundam Wave Shooter equipment type, because let's face it, this is very much a different unit. Just look at those wings. Well, at least the wings and the shield are different. Let's pull that, and here we have some detailing on what your Zeta Gundam could look like if you're a great modeler. Also, the V-fin is the wrong color. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Yeah. If you can find it for anywhere near its original price of 1,200 yen, I can recommend this thing. Now, am I trying to say that you should buy this old high grade instead of the old high grade Russell Century version because, well, this thing transforms and this thing is a filthy parts former? Absolutely not. Let's be honest here, the new Hydraulic Century is going to be superior in pretty much every single way. I mean, even the white is better on the Hydraulic Century version. Still, there is very much a reason to pick up this old clunker. And it's not just for nostalgia or, you know, historical reasons. This thing is very much its own model, being the Zeta Gundam Wave Shooter equipment type. And I would say that it's significantly different enough from the Zeta Gundam, you know, to buy both of them. Also, I just really love that big shield that this thing has. It's just a lot more convenient as a shield. So yeah, the Wave Shooter equipment type definitely has that thing going for it. Which also means that out of all old 4 high grades, this is the one I could definitely, absolutely recommend you go out and buy. And the reason is, it's not accurate. You know, that's kind of a paradox, but hey, another paradox about this thing is even though I'm recommending it to you right now because, you know, it's its own model kit, the funny thing is, let's just imagine for a second, this is 1990 and you're somehow watching this on 1990s internet. And we're comparing it to the Zeta Plus, which was released before it. I would actually recommend you to not buy this thing and instead buy the old Zeta Plus. It's a few years older, but kind of superior to the Zeta Gundam here. Because, well, it pulls off the transformation even slightly better, slightly less blocky, slightly better articulation, and also the colors. My god, the C1 just has absolutely gorgeous jet-like colors. So in the end, even with all of its flaws and better model kits out there you could pick instead of this thing, there is an undeniable charm about this Zeta Gundam. Be it the looks, be it the system injection molding, be it the history behind it, be it the fact that Bandai tried so hard to pull off the transformation, just a lot of things that might make you want to pick up this cute little guy. For size comparisons, first of all, let's put him next to some younger model kits that unfortunately weren't quite as lucky as the Zeta Gundam. We have the Rose Gundam, and yes, the stickers are peeling off that badly. Even if I reapply them right now, they're going to be peeling off again in a second. And then we have the Heavy Arms. Now, even though these were quite cheaper than the Zeta Gundam, keep in mind they're also quite a bit shorter, and, you know, they don't transform or they don't have a giant backpack with wings on it. And also that sticker's already begun to peel off, so, you know, the economic recession really hit the model market quite hard in the 90s. Then here it is next to the other two old high grades I've constructed so far, the RX-78-2 and the Double Zeta Gundam. Now, while the Zeta Gundam, I would say, is definitely the better looking of the three, when it comes to, you know, technological things like articulation and overall awesomeness of the model kit, I'm kind of leaning towards either the RX-78-2 or the Double Zeta Gundam. But because of the combination of both looks and all the aforementioned things, if you gotta buy one, let it be the Zeta Gundam. Believe in the sign of Zeta. Then next to the modern Zeta Gundam again, and also the modern Gundam Mark II. Now the Gundam Mark II is also the one of the old high grades I still have to build. That's something I'll get on. And finally, here is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. And that's all for this review, and see you all next time.